Hello and welcome to everybody, and thank you for taking some time here tonight to jump on our MAAC call. Alex had mentioned maybe some of you had heard this as you're hopping into to the call here, but we do not have a representative from the MAAC speaking tonight. Kelsey Nugent is buried with swimming and diving in the MAAC, and she was available on one of the other days, but unfortunately not tonight. So I spoke with her. She sends along, some really good things. Really happy with the performance on the field and everything you guys have been doing in the MAAC. One thing she did want me to share with you is that the MAAC championship will once again be in Pomona, New York, at Clover Stadium or Clover Field. Really nice venue. We had, a lot of support from the staff at Clover last year. Did some nice things and took care of us really nicely. So that's all I have from the conference. Once again, she sends her best. Before we get started, just want to point out Warren Bumpus to everybody. Bump, I saw him sneak in the America East call there a little while ago. Many of you know Bump, and he's been around, me personally and a number of organizations for years. You'll see him out there throughout the season watching, and nobody that's more respected in all this than Bump, and can't thank him enough for his involvement, and I'm sure you'll see him a lot this season as always. So thanks for being a part of it, Bump, and everything you do for us. It's much appreciated. I'm going to kick it off here with just a couple small logistical things. Just make sure, I know we've kind of exhausted this a number of times. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here. That make sure when you send emails, it goes to both Alex and I. Trying to stay away from text messages. I can tell you I don't get as many as Alex, but over the last few days I'm getting a ton. And the last thing I want to do is lose or miss something through a text or get buried. So anything, any issue, whatever it is, please reach out to us via email. Make sure that you copy Alex and make sure you have both of us on it. And my email address is cmarshall@umpires.org, not chris@umpires.org. All right. From time to time, that happens. I understand. Unfortunately, somebody had that one already. So when I came around, it was used up and we couldn't ask Chris to get rid of his. So just make sure you use the correct one, cmarshall, so I get it. We eventually get the information, but if it's something that's really pressing, something that we need to handle right away, we just want to make sure it comes directly to me and it isn't something that takes some time and has to go through the MAAC to get to me. So just make sure you do that for us. It'll make this process a little bit easier. Briefly, we want to talk about uniforms. Nothing has changed. For conference, we're in the MAAC hats, all blank shirts, pullovers. We're to a point now where Keith's 3 and 2 cold weather jacket, we're kind of running out of sizes. There's only the very big ones left and the very small ones. So we're making a transition over to the Smitty, which looks very similar to their cold weather. However, and Alex brought this up last meeting, and I thank him for doing that. We're not phasing out the 3 and 2s. I mean, for anyone that has them, we love those jackets. They're warm. They look great. We just unfortunately can't get them anymore. So those are the ones that are acceptable. If you have them, we're going to keep wearing those. But if you have to get a new one, the Smitty is the way to go. One thing I do want to say is I know with the convertible jackets, we are still wearing the all solid black, whether it's Smitty, Adams, a Majestic, if you're lucky enough to have one of those. I know the Smitty has the convertibles with the gray panels. I know they look good, but we are not switching to those. It's the plain black, no change there, right? So some of you have those plate jackets. You know what? I'm kind of okay with that, but on the bases, it's solid black. No other exceptions. And the only other thing is just the difference between conference and non-conference assignments. Non-conference dates, let's wear the United hat. If 3 umpires are working a midweek non-conference MAAC game and have MAAC hats on, it's not the end of the world, but the preferred hat for midweek games. And really because we have, some umpires that may be working non-conference midweeks for the first time, they're breaking in. The preferred hat would be the United hat during those assignments. All right, I'm going to kick over to Alex. He's going to talk to you about a couple things briefly.
Thanks, Marsh. Welcome, everybody. Seen some of you for a few meetings now, some new faces here. Looking forward to getting to see everybody this year. I really just wanted to mention MAAC fees. We are on a flat fee rate, so everybody's fees for conference and non-conference should be updated. No tolls, nothing really variable. So if something's missing, it's a complete goof on my part. So if there are any issues on that end, simply reach out to me via email and we will get it taken care of. But I believe everything should be up to date. If you, as a crew, get into a situation that you're more than 3 weeks out after a game or a series has been played and you want to reach out to an institution, please go ahead and do that. But what I would ask is that one member of the crew be doing that. So we don't need all 3 members of the crew reaching out and saying, hey, we haven't been paid. Be easiest if either one was designated or the crew chief did it so that we can get the information we need, but also not kind of overrun their offices. That's all I've got on fees. Back to you, Chris.
I will unmute. All right, now I'm back. One thing I failed to mention, as far as uniforms go, many of you in Baltimore purchased one of the Dave Simon Toby Walker patches. There are still more on sale, and I'll have to get together with Keith here and get out some information as how to purchase some more. I know we still have some more. Under no obligation to purchase them or even to put them on a uniform. It's completely up to you what you want to do with it, whether it's on a bag, whether you just keep it close to you somewhere else. I'm good with anything. But if it is going to be on a uniform, we would like it on the shirt or pullovers on the left hand sleeve. Okay. But once again, I mean, it's up to you if you want to purchase one. You honor them in any way you want. But if you're going to put them on uniforms, let's put them on the left sleeve. Nothing on the hats. I know some people are asking about the hat. Kind of piggybacking on what Alex said about crew chiefs and reaching out. Confirming with schools, let's just make sure that it's only the crew chief that's calling and reaching out to the schools or coaches or administrators to confirm weekends or midweek games. Ideally, we're going to reach out to a school for a conference weekend on a Wednesday, maybe a Tuesday, but no later than a Wednesday. Once we get to Thursday now, there's travel issues and people are kind of locked into getting ready and prepared for the weekend. Midweek, day before, early in the day. I didn't bring this up with the other meeting, but I know in other sports, I remember when I did basketball, someone would reach out at the beginning of the week for everything. However you want to do it, let's just make sure it's the crew chief and not all 3 umpires for really the reason Alex brought up there. Let's not hammer these administrators and coaches with everybody reaching out to them all at once. That being said, if you have any changes in weekend assignments, start times, stuff like that, that you're going to want to reach out to us. If every member of the crew is aware that the game has been moved up an hour or 2 because of rain or travel, whatever it may be, as long as I can confirm and Alex can confirm that everybody knows about it, we might not make the change in the arbiter. So don't be alarmed when you don't see that or say, hey, you know what? It's not in there. It's wrong. If you all know and we've confirmed, then if we get to it, we get to it. Really, it's not the biggest deal in the world as long as everybody's on the same page. Okay. Evaluations. I want to focus more on this year, and it's something that we've kind of gotten away from with the crew chief level, but I really want to focus on making sure that our crew chiefs are doing evaluations on the weekend. And I know in years past and maybe going back a few more years, generally it was an email just saying, hey, Marsh, this team won how many games, these are the scores, no issues. That's great. And believe me, I want every weekend and every email to say no issues. The reality is there will be some. But an email telling me there was no issues really doesn't give me a full picture or scope of what happened. Obviously I'll hear from coaches from time to time, but I really want to ask the crew chiefs to do a better job of just giving me an overview of how things went, including your own work. Okay. Not completely tearing things apart. And obviously if it's a bad situation, it's something that probably should have dictated a phone call earlier. Obviously make sure those phone calls come in, but let's just do a better job as crew chiefs of telling us kind of how everyone did, including yourself, and then follow that up with a peer evaluation as well. So I just have two kind of reference points there. And as far as the peer evaluations go, let's do a better job of everybody doing those, midweek included. Now, am I going to hound you guys or email you guys or call you and say, where's your peer evaluation? No, I'm not. But once again, it's just another kind of layer of evaluations that, these peer ones aren't to burn anybody. I may not have made that comment with the last two meetings, but it's not to put anyone down. It's not to talk bad about anybody. It's just to give an honest assessment of how everybody did, and nothing personal, because believe me, when we read some that are, we kind of know where it's coming from, and that's not really the tone that we're looking for here. But we want to know how guys are doing, and these are kind of the responsibilities on you guys to make sure you provide some of that information for us. And really, at the end of the day, it's to help you guys. It's not to hurt. We read them, we look at them daily, and if we see trends and things that we can call you and help you out with, I think it just makes it better for you and better for the way your season's going to go. So once again, let's just try to make a more of a commitment to that. Moving forward to pregame conferences. So knowing all of the new rules, the timing, all the things that we're going to have to deal with this year, I just want to make sure that we're committed to getting 2 games on time, in the locker room, and really having some in-depth pregame meetings. I understand, I've umpired for a very long time. A lot of what we do sometimes is catch up, joke around, get comfortable, reminisce, and then, we got to put our uniforms on now and go to work. Let's just make sure that we're talking about these new rules and going over the timing. Not only the rulings of it, making sure we're on the same page, but how we're going to apply it. The signals, the communication. So what we're going to do to help the coaches and communicate to them to coach them through it. And Alex and I have had a number of conversations with coaches and conferences over really the last week, but even before that, everyone's trying to figure out how this is going to go. So let's just make sure we talk about it, and we're prepared. Really, just making sure once again we're on time. Midweek games, we work. It's tough sometimes, but let's commit to being there an hour before, making sure we're prepared. Game 1 of a Friday series, a conference series, well, you know what? Maybe we're there an hour 15 before, knowing that we're really going to have to go over these things, and maybe the next 2 days, an hour is fine. But just make sure that we take the appropriate amount of time to be ready and prepared for all this new stuff. Brian DeBrouwer has done a nice job of putting together some timing cards, a reference sheet for all of us to take a look at. So we're going to work to get some of that stuff out there. It's a great tool to use in the locker room. It's a great tool potentially to have on the field to refer to. A lot of good information there, but when we have these tools, we just have to make sure that we take advantage of those as well. Speaking of the timing, I could really care less if you use a Ref Smart or a stopwatch on the field. I'm old school. I like the stopwatch personally, but let's just make sure we have them. 3rd base umpire, 3 umpire system. Make sure that we're using those. Whether we like the rule or not, it's the rule, and it's something that we have to enforce. And we all have seen the amount of time that through the clinics and through Billy and George and Randy, the emphasis that's been put on this timing and the step offs and all that stuff. So whether we like it or not, that's not our place to make a decision whether we're going to enforce it. We're enforcing it. So just do our best to make sure we have those devices on at all times, and we're using them. That being said, we're going to do some investigating to see if there's any teams that have a visible clock. I don't think there will be, but if there is, the one thing Alex and I have talked about here is that we don't know who's going to be running these clocks. Okay. My sense is that it may be one person on a Friday, somebody else on a Saturday, somebody else on a Sunday. Who knows who's going to do it Tuesday and Wednesday. So if there is a visible clock, we still have to have our stopwatches and our Ref Smarts with us, for 2 reasons. If we get to an extreme where they're not even close, we may just have to have them turn it off and keep the time ourselves. Secondly, if they're off by a second or two, if it starts too soon or too late, but specifically too soon, we have to have knowledge that it was started incorrectly. And if it goes to zeros and people are asking why there's not, enforcement of this rule, we need to have an answer as why we are not. And it's simply because it started too soon. It wasn't accurate. So make the commitment, and we'll try to do on our end, Alex and I, trying to figure out if anybody will have visible clocks. Actually, I think there'll be somebody on Monday's call that might, I have a feeling. So we'll get some answers on that, but it is going to be a challenge if we have those, and we just have to work around it and do our best to work through it. Crew consultations. All right, this was brought up in Baltimore a little bit. I think regarding situations where there's a hit by pitch, and potentially the crew could get together to see if the batter did something intentionally get hit, or situations like that. Which, it's quite funny. Not to say we're ahead of the curve on this one, but that's something that I've been asking all of you to do for the last couple of years anyway. So it should be really nothing new. But I want to extend this a little bit into situations, especially with the bat flipping and the unsportsmanlike stuff, and more specifically, any potential throwing incidents after home runs and stuff. I think those are situations where we should get together as well. Now, I want to clarify one thing. It's not a situation where I'm asking a plate umpire not to eject somebody or warn somebody immediately, because at the end of the day, it's a plate umpire's responsibility to get that stuff right. But what I'm talking about are situations where a member of the crew is on the field and notices or has a feeling that, boy, we should have done something different. We should have done something here. And I think we've all been in situations in locker rooms in the past where we find ourselves talking about it after the game and realizing, hey, we should have done something here. We missed something. If we bring that knowledge to the locker room, I would rather us talk about it on the field and make a decision there than talk about it later. So we now have the freedom to do so. It's really no different from what we're doing in Major League Baseball or what we see on TV at times. Once again, to make sure we all realize this, we're not taking responsibility away from the plate umpire to make those decisions. But what we are saying is, if we miss something or we feel like we could have done something, let's get together on the field and make sure we talk about it. One NCAA policy that has really been in place over the last few years, and unfortunately, I don't think we've been doing a great job of it, is discussions with head coaches. Specifically, where do we meet them on the field? And I know we've all seen this in Baltimore. We've seen videos of it. We've talked about it. So no questions asked. We're full out committed to this. If there's a discussion on the field, a play on the field, we have to make sure that we speak with the coaches on the 45. Okay. Our part of this is, if the coach does the right thing, we have to make sure we do the right thing also. We have to meet them there. Okay. This is what the NCAA is instructing us. That's what us as coordinators are expecting everyone to do. If they do the right thing, we have to do the right thing as well. Plays at the plate, keep them off of the dirt. Now, we're going to forget, coaches are going to forget. There still is going to be some coaching involved here where we really need to just work together on this. So, this started out as a COVID policy, and now it's kind of morphed into something that's here to stay. And believe me, the thought process is that this, will diminish some of the ejections that happen. So if we think about, how this will work in real time, I think when we all give it a little bit of time, we direct them to the 45, we meet them at the 45. It may just give both sides enough time to kind of calm down, get our emotions in check, collect our thoughts, and have more meaningful discussions on the field. And I think when we do that, then I think a lot of these potential arguments may just turn into good discussions that we both can work through and work past without an ejection. So, that's the thought process here. And once again, it's something that it's the policy. We have to follow it. And, it's something that we're enforcing. Last thing before I kick it over to Alex real quick is, actually, there's two things. I apologize. Our ejection process, nothing's changed. It's still the same. Okay. If we have an ejection in the game, I need a phone call right away, or Alex, one of the two. We need to know what's going on. And, if we find ourselves in between game one and game two of a doubleheader, which conference play, unless there's weather, shouldn't really be an issue, but maybe midweek would be in the MAAC. Just got to let us know, hey, we're in between games. I had an ejection. I threw out this kid or this coach, whatever the situation may be. just want to let you know, and I'll call you when we finish. Highly important that we have some information prior to us receiving a phone call from an administrator or a school or a coach, which inevitably is going to happen. It puts Alex and I in a really tough spot when we're finding out about an ejection from a conference or a coach before we've heard anything. And then, if there's anything that's going to put us in maybe not the best moods, it's us being surprised by an ejection. So the situation that Alex and I really want to be in is when we receive a phone call from that coach or that administrator saying, hey, you know what, this happened today. Have you heard anything? And our response is, yes, I've spoken to the umpires. This is what happened. Or we're in between games. I'm alert and aware of the ejection. Now I'll get some further information for you. So please put us in a good position to deal with this. Don't leave us out there hanging, and just do the right thing. Last thing before I kick it to Alex, plate dodging. This is something that comes up all the time. And once again, if there's something that frustrates not only the two of us, but I think all of you collectively, and I think, from time to time, I think we all have seen or know somebody that does this, is umpires don't want to work the plate during the week. In a 3-game weekend series, obviously we're all going to get one. What I don't want to see and hear is so-and-so isn't working a plate. I've worked 5 in a row. This person doesn't want to do this. It just creates a lot of uneasiness amongst the umpire community, our crews, the organization, and obviously Alex and I as well. So, believe me, if you work a plate on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and you think you're not going to work another one for another week, how sharp are you really going to be? I've looked up and down the list of umpires on these meetings, and I'm looking at this as well. And pretty much everybody is multiple games a week and opportunities to work a plate. So, without beating this to death here, do the right thing, stay sharp, don't just pawn them off. If you're a new umpire, and Alex says this all the time, you know what? If you're a newer umpire, you probably want to work the plate. So some of those situations we understand, but do the right thing here, work the plate, stay sharp, and for lack of better terms, don't be that guy. So, Alex, I'm going to hand it off to you now.
All righty. I just really have 2 quick things. Number one is obviously we're on a MAAC conference call here with MAAC conference level umpires, some of you that are working non-conference only. But we all work a number of different levels here in the Northeast and in the Mid-Atlantic. So there will be times you're working Division III, you're working junior college, you might be working Division II, whatever it might be. And, all of you are the leaders. And so a lot of the things that Chris talked about tonight, we certainly expect your leadership in helping our newer members, helping our members that are aspiring to get where all of you are. So things like when you show up, how you deal with plate dodging, how you're handling a lot of the new policies and procedures that we've got in place for 2023. Someone is using you as an example. And the more you can do to provide a great example and continue to mentor our new and our younger collegiate officials, obviously that goes a long way in helping the organization. So that's kind of my memo on that. And second piece here, I'm going to share my screen very briefly. Just looking at, okay, you've got my email, huh? Okay, so this is what RefQuest looks like when you are signed up for the NCAA portal. And all of you being Division I umpires and being members of United have signed up and are a part of this portal. And you will see that on my screen, I have NCAA baseball and the United portal. So I think most of you probably have that and have made that that sign up so that you have both of these. But if you are looking at your RefQuest and the only thing you have is the NCAA portal, then you are missing a United portal, and you need to have that for the 2024 or the 2023 season here. So if you look at this, you don't have the United, send me an email, and we will get you all set up. There's a $55 cost with that, but as we've talked about, $40 of that goes back to you for your assigning fees. So check this out at the end of the night and see if you have this updated. We're going to have a lot of great information on the portal, and we want you to be a part of that. So please take the time, and again, email me if there's an issue. Last thing, February 16th is our all staff meeting, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Please be a part of that evening, and we look forward to seeing all of you out on the fields. I look forward to seeing a bunch of you in Florida for Rust Mat, and have a good night. Have a great start to the season. I'll turn it back to Chris.
Thanks, Alex. And I'll echo what Alex said here. We're excited to see all of you out there. I know, I'm in North Carolina now, and I'm starting some stuff down here. And, like you guys, we'll be on the road for the next bunch of months. So I'm excited about that. I'm sure you guys are excited to get on the field and get started. And I'll see many of you out there. One thing we don't do all the time is say thank you. And not only thank you for taking the time for being on here tonight, but just your commitment to college baseball, to United, and to us. And we appreciate all you do. We appreciate those of you that are out there, getting your cage work in and working with teams. There's some areas that I think we could do a little bit better. We'd like to see some more guys out there, but ultimately, I think there's a lot of commitment out there, and you guys are doing the right thing to prepare. So thank you for your time tonight. We look forward to seeing all you soon, and we'll speak to many of you on Thursday evening. Thanks again. Good night, everybody.